So in this episode, I sit down with Laura Blease. She suffers with colitis, and she talks about, I actually know Laura really well and get to see this on a daily basis, but she talks about the difficulties that she faces and how training, resistance training especially, has helped her overcome this illness. So yeah, Laura, thank you. Thank you for being on the podcast.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I think we've said it, haven't we? It's a bit mad that we're actually saying it.
I know.
Like, because we're actually here doing it.
Mental.
But yeah, no, thank you, honestly. I really do appreciate it. And I think your story, it is going to resonate with a lot of people. And colitis, especially for someone like you, that looks like the way you do. Obviously, you train, you're a PT, you look healthy, which you are. But having something like colitis, people just don't realise it. So I think, like, today with this podcast, I think it's a good opportunity to talk about the things I think that are going to obviously help people and motivate people, and you will most definitely inspire people. But I think firstly, like, if I can go back to like the beginning,
yeah,
and just discuss more of the things around the diagnosis first, and discuss around that side. So are you okay to go into things around your diagnosis and how did you feel at the time?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, definitely. So I'm now 39. I was diagnosed at the age of, I think it was 17. So pretty long time ago. Yeah. I think I was in college at the time, feeling quite stressed, very much a different person to how I am right now. I'd feel overwhelmed. I think workload got on top of me, and I had this like perfectionist mindset. Nothing was good enough. Got myself to a stage where I was just feeling in a constant state of stress, you know, going to the bathroom a lot, like thinking this isn't normal, this isn't right. The age of 17, going to the toilet like 20 times in the morning, waking up with pain, stomach cramps, going to the bathroom, passing blood, to the extent where it was urgency, time after time again, and the pain was so bad it would literally make me feel sick. Got to the point where I spoke to my parents like, this isn't normal at all. They saw me getting up in the middle of the night, waking up in the morning really early and thinking that this isn't right at all. Going to the doctors, and at first the doctor said, have you got an issue with eating? Being a young girl, have you got an eating disorder?
Yeah.
And at the time I was mortified. I thought, just because I'm losing weight, they were kind of like almost like disregarding the symptoms. Yeah. I was telling them openly and honestly, like, I'm eating normally, I'm just not holding anything in. Going to the bathroom a lot, feeling so fatigued, thinking this isn't right, this is not a stomach bug. This is not normal at all. It was only like possibly maybe a year or so later where I got to the point where I was, it's quite graphic, but passing black blood, like old blood, from presume which organs, I don't know, but not sleeping. Like my mum was staying with me. I think I was sleeping on the sofa. She was like staying next to me, middle of the night, like, and then we called an ambulance the following day and got rushed into A&E. So, got a hospital bed, kind of did my research beforehand and thought something isn't right here. And then upon the diagnosis, got put on a drip, strong medication, went through a series of like, you name it, all different medications and things to try and help and get me back into remission. And at that point, I remember thinking like, I don't know what's happened like to my life. It was such an upheaval. So to go from someone who's quite social, enjoying spending time with friends, being in college, you know, working towards the second year, because I literally had to finish college like halfway through, and didn't complete my A-levels. At that point, it felt like life came to a standstill. Yeah, I had worked up towards that. I was very, very like scholarly, enjoyed learning, had like an idea set. I'd go to university, I'd plan, you know, ahead, but all of that kind of like took a back step.
Yeah, so you had plans basically, and then all of a sudden. Yeah,
literally just at a standstill. Yeah, it's almost like as if it was another life ago, and it was. Yeah. It's like because I've had the condition over half of my life, it's almost like my life's been in two halves.
Yeah,
no, I can't remember like what it feels like to not have it. Yeah.
So you've had it now for how long?
Let's do the math. So I was diagnosed when I was 17. Yeah. So 22 years? Yeah, 22 years.
So do you know when you got diagnosed then? Because I kind of with my stuff and things. I remember like the moments, and I was like, I didn't really understand too much about my thing, and I just, at the time, I was like, that's something I'll just train off. I'll just train. Give me 2 weeks.
I'll be fine.
Yeah. That's no problem. Like, do you remember the moment that they kind of diagnosed you and told you about it, and do you know like how you felt at the time?
To be honest, like, I know we all do the old like Google doctor, but I researched my symptoms and I had a bit of inclination that it was a condition that was very similar to Crohn's disease.
Okay.
But I kind of like didn't say too much to the doctors, and then when they diagnosed it, I thought this, they told me, I thought this seems about right. Obviously, you go through the series of tests like you would have done as well. Get to a point and you think, okay, it's this condition, and almost sounds crazy, but when it's got a label on it, it's almost a little bit more easy to come to terms with.
Yeah.
So you know what you're dealing with. That when it's the unknown, it's more scary, isn't it?
Yeah, because you've done like quite a bit of research. You was slightly expecting it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for you then, I know flare-ups and things like that. So with my stuff, I know what flare-ups can look like, and like a day-to-day can be completely different. But because so many people see you training and seeing you do all your stuff that you do, and obviously your work, I know a lot of people with what you've got actually don't manage to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
What does a day look like for you when you are in like a flare-up, and how can that look like?
It's very different to how I am at the moment in remission. Really grateful and thankful for the medication that I've been given that treats it. On an average, every day when I'm in a flare-up, I can wake up quite early, and it's the frequency of the bathroom trips. So it can be you go to the bathroom, pass blood, you come back to bed, and then you feel the urgency again to go. And you think that, okay, I should probably stay and sit in the bathroom for a long period of time because I don't feel very well. But the association from having this condition so long of sitting and staying in the bathroom makes you feel worse. But the disruptive to and fro, it can be up to 50 times. That's the most it's been in a day.
Yeah.
And bearing in mind when you've not eaten very much anyway, you feel like you're running on empty.
Yeah.
You've passed blood. Like I say, you can be sick from the pain, and with my mindset, I think I'm not going to give in to it. So I say to myself, unless I am feeling terrible, I'm going to go into work. I'm not letting this win. So try and get some water down me, try and have something that's quite soothing food-wise, just something little. Quite openly, the worry of driving to work, which is not even that far away, sometimes thinking I need to go to the bathroom, dropping into the local garage. You know where all the toilets are. Everyone with Crohn's and colitis will know where every single toilet is, and sometimes it's the worry of I'll be open and honest about being able to make it in time.
Yeah.
Being well prepared.
Yeah.
The Crohn's and Colitis Association are great because if you pay for your subscription, you get a can't wait card, which means you can go into local shops, pubs, and show this card so that you're able to use their bathrooms. Okay. Sometimes it's, companies, I'm not going to name any names, but they'll say you can't use this if you're not a paying customer. Whereas for someone with IBD, irritable bowel disease, colitis, Crohn's, you worry if you can't go to the bathroom, you worry about the embarrassment of it. It's very uncomfortable in that kind of...
Yeah. I think that's the stuff that you don't think about, isn't it? Because that's stuff that I didn't really think about. You associate it with being at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're like, I don't really think about like, well, what happens if you're driving to somewhere like...
Exactly.
Imagine like, if you've got to take a trip to somewhere like London. Yeah. Like, I assume for you now, you've got to really plan and think about that.
100%. Yeah. There'll be times when it's great, like the medication is keeping it at bay at the moment and the urgency is not really coming to mind, but when it's awful, you really have to plan and prepare trips. Yeah. And think about like what you have with you openly and honestly, like spare change of clothes, sometimes medications and things to try and like sort of get it at the core if it does feel painful. Yeah. And plan in advance. Definitely driving is so much better for me because I'm in control. I can go where I need to do rather than on public transport, and the panic and the worry, the psychological side of it of like what if is
I was going to say, would you use things like public transport? Can you do that, or is it just too risky?
I think in a way, like at the moment it's okay to, but when you're in a flare up, very much like you need to feel in control. you need to feel you can drop off anywhere, or you can nip somewhere easy enough. Yeah. In terms of like of work, like I manage it the very best I can. Communicating is really important with any condition. Like I'm sure you're the same. You'll speak to clients and you'll tell them how you're feeling, and I'll just say to my clients, like, if I need to go to the bathroom at some point, I'm really sorry, but this is part of what I'm going through at the moment. And being open and honest about it is key, really. I think that's really important.
Do you know, so going back quickly to when you was diagnosed and stuff again, like how fast did it take you to, because I know what I mentioned then was I kind of just didn't really take it too seriously. Did you take it like serious straight away, or like how long did it take you to come to terms with like, oh, I've got that?
Pretty quickly, really. I think like at the time, maybe it was a little bit of like in denial that I had a condition that would affect me for my whole life. And I kind of thought, well, I'll deal with it the best I can, and I'll still carry on doing all my training and doing everything I like, because I'm not going to let it stop me. I think that was like that mindset, really. I've got that. I always have that positive mindset. I think in the past, like I've pushed myself to the nth degree and made it worse. And like I think I mentioned the other day to you that I'm finding that point where I can still work hard, but listen to my body, being more intuitive and more mindful, and not making my condition worse, being open and communicative, and not punishing myself, because this condition does require you to rest. And I don't have to prove it to anybody, because they, like we talked about, it's an invisible condition. Self-care is important. Yeah,
we said as well, I think, which is important, it's like that feeling almost of having to explain yourself.
Yes, very much, yeah.
Even though someone might not know what you've got, and there's probably no reason even there and then to even mention it or talk about anything, but like just still get that feeling to explain yourself, really.
A little bit, in case I maybe come across as, maybe my fatigue shows, maybe like clients can tell. Sometimes people might feel like I'm not actually present or there, or maybe it's in my head, I don't know, but everything that we do, I'm sure you'll agree, takes 50% more energy, 50% more effort. So we're trying our hardest to kind of like almost conceal it in a way and paint a face on and be happy and present and enjoy life, and not use it as a reason to kind of feel down about things. It's almost like ammunition to keep going. I know that like from my own training side of things and my work perspective, it's given me more fuel to the fire and more of a determined mindset, a stronger mindset.
That is a thing, it's the mindset. So I think there's all the physical side of it. And that's what I think people think of, the physical side, but there is the mental side of things, and the mental health aspect, which is massive, and the emotional side of it as well. So how would you say it's like evolved over time for you? So in terms of that mental health side of things, how has that changed over time since you've obviously had more experience of the condition?
Truthfully, I mean, it's one of those things that kind of like ebbs and flows. It comes in waves, good days and bad days. I find that having a really supportive partner, that's really important to me. And my partner is very supportive of my condition, my situation. He will help me outside of, my work situation, and that really helps. I try to take time out for myself, go walking. Training is important, finding that level. I think it's just every day is different. You can wake up and feel good, your level of good. Other days you feel awful, but you know that you're going to be okay come the end of the day. You know you're always going to get through it. And it feels really hard, and it is tough. Like, I can't speak for everyone else who has the condition, but my sleep is dreadful. Sometimes that affects my mood, makes me feel more anxious. But I know now to listen to my body. Like today, I've let myself rest, whereas normally I would train through it. Got to prove a point to myself, can't let it beat me. But in other ways, like I'm feeling like letting my body rest is a good thing. It's nourishing. It's just important to anyone without a health condition. Having a rest day is good. It helps your body repair, recover, heal, grow. It's positive. It's being in tune with your needs. Every day is different, and I'm sure you're the same. And doing things without guilt.
Yeah, definitely. When was the turning point of that then? So like, when did that mentality start to come in?
Probably this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, I'm really trying to practice what I preach, particularly with clients as well. Like, I'll do the same thing. Like, I would be more compassionate to clients than I would to myself. And I'm learning to take a leaf out of my own book and practice what I preach. Yeah.
So do you know, when you talk about training and things then, so you're talking about pushing yourself and stuff, and now you're listening to your body. So now you know when to take a rest, you know when to be a little bit like kind to yourself and say, no, I need to rest today. Would you say have you been pushing yourself like prior to this thought? Have you been pushing too hard?
Massively. And I think we caught up the other day, didn't we? We were speaking, and I was talking about a few years ago when I used to train in Stockport. I was going through a flare-up. I remember that particular morning, I'd been to the bathroom 15 to 20 times, passing blood. And my plan for the day, training-wise, was to deadlift this heavy weight. And I thought to myself, I need to do this because I need to prove to this condition, almost like 2 fingers up to it, I'm going to beat this, I'm going to win, not letting it get to me. And at the time feeling horrendous and thinking, oh, okay, I've got through it though. And I had a really busy day in work training clients. And when I look back at that now upon reflection, I think, what was I doing?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you think at the time, oh yeah, this is the thing to do.
Yeah.
But
yeah, because I had to be strong, like to make myself physically strong meant I was mentally strong and I could cope with it, even though I was probably making my condition feel worse. Yeah.
Have you ever been like depressed from it? Like, have you ever kind of fallen into any kind of depressive like bouts from it?
Oh, massively. Yeah, I've been on antidepressants in the past, and thankfully they've worked really, really well. But having a good network of friends, family, partner, getting out for walks, also finding through social media a connection of friends that have got the same condition as me that I can speak to. I can just get some advice, voice off how I'm feeling has really helped as well, and having that network is really important. So no matter what condition you've got, as long as you've got someone who you can talk to who's got the same condition as you that really gets it.
Yeah, and have you found that? Have you found that you've got people that you can speak to about it all?
100%. Yeah.
Is the groups and stuff then that?
Yeah.
Out there for that,
Talking to quite a few people I've never met in my life, but through the beauty of social media, we've kept in touch, and going through bad days to chatting to them, and it really helps to talk to somebody who's got the same condition, because they really understand. As much as like your family, friends, partner, they can be understanding and empathetic. If they don't have the condition, they don't quite understand.
Yeah, that's it.
With it being invisible, it's really hard to get across the extremity of it.
Yeah.
And day to day, you probably agree, it does put a load on your partner, and it's quite difficult for them to understand what you're going through. And half the time you hide it, half the time you talk about it, but it's you think about the impact on them sometimes rather than yourself.
Yeah, that's true. It takes a toll on other people, and you try not to you kind of feel like a little bit of a burden, and you almost don't want to talk about it too much, because you're like, is this the only thing I talk about?
Yeah.
Is this the only thing I actually say? So it's like you kind of go through different phases, don't you? Where one time you'll kind of talk about it all the time, and then the next minute, I'm talking about this too much now. I need to probably stop. And I feel that sometimes. But yeah, I think it does take its toll on. People that are close to you. Yeah. But yeah, I think it still needs to be spoke about, and usually 100%. If someone that is close to you is supportive, then that's the main thing, isn't it, really? But they still just won't feel it. That's the only thing, isn't it? People just can't fully understand because they don't feel it themselves.
Yeah. And there's almost a small element of me that almost wants people to experience it for one day.
Yeah.
Just to kind of understand, because it's really difficult to get it across.
Yeah.
And kind of how it impacts everything you do. I almost use the analogy of you charge your phone overnight, and you've had it plugged in the whole night, and you wake up and there's 40% battery, and you think, oh crikey, it's not going to last me to the end of the day. And as you get closer to the afternoon, it drains to 20%, and then it's closer to 15%, and you think it's way gone by early afternoon, not even late evening. And it's that kind of analogy, isn't it? And it's operating on such little energy, but
seeing it drain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You spoke about like things like with medication, obviously antidepressants, and you've been on, but I know you've been on a different path in terms of medication to treat the colitis, really. And there was a period in time, wasn't there, when me and you were at the same stage?
Yes.
In terms of actually going on medication.
Yeah.
And I know it was going to things like injections and that kind of stuff. So what's that been like? Because I know I struggled massively, and I spoke to you about that. The medication side was probably the biggest conflicting thing in my life in terms of how I like to live. So that was the biggest thing, because it does give you a sense of relief as well. So it's that conflict between the two. How was that for you, and what's your medication path been?
So I've been on, kind of backtracking, I've been on so many different medications. When I was living at home, in the cupboard, there was carry bags full of different things that hadn't worked. I've been on immunosuppressant medication, which is tablet form, which helped for a certain amount of time, and then it stopped. So currently I'm on capsule medication, and then I inject every other week as well, that's also an immunosuppressant too, and I think it was a similar one that you were talking about going on to. Yeah. So I basically took the course of going to private hospital to get some help when I was in a flare-up back in 2023. Nothing seemed to work. Had this appointment with the private consultant, who was absolutely amazing. Fast forwarded me to get this injection that I inject myself at home every other week. It's actually a medication called adalimumab, if I can pronounce it.
Yeah, that's the one. I can't never say it, but that's the one that's
difficult, isn't it? Yeah. But since I've been diagnosed, there's so many different kinds of medications now. So really lucky in a way that there's different options. So if something doesn't work, having Crohn's and colitis going through a flare-up, there's different pathways and different things you can try. This medication has been a game changer for me. Whilst it gives me symptoms of feeling fatigued, and it's probably not the most nicest medication to be on, but it has stopped the symptoms.
What's like the side effects to it? Like, have you experienced any side effects?
Yeah. So the fatigue is I'd say the one strongest kind of side effect from it. Whilst it's not recognised as on the list of being a side effect, it's the disturbed sleep. I think that is a contributing factor towards that. That's the main thing, really. Other than that, it really, like I say, really has been a game changer. Yeah. It's helped to stop the blood, which is, honestly, I'm so thankful for. The frequency is reduced. It's almost given me my life back, that independence, that kind of mental side of things, that I can relax now and not have to worry when I'm going out and thinking, where is the nearest toilet?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, that happens every now and again, but it's helped so much.
So with the medication then, so that's one piece that's kind of is, like you say, it's been a game changer for you. So you've got that side of it. But then also you've got things, and I know this podcast is all about how activity, and we know the importance, and we spoke about the importance of training, activity, sport. It does correlate well with anyone that's been through some form of adversity. Like, there does seem to be a pattern that people use these things to help transition out of it. And for you then, so you've got the medication piece, which obviously works really well for you. What else do you do? So you've got your training. I've seen your training.
Yeah.
So what other kind of things do you do in terms of your lifestyle now with your new kind of frame of mind that's helping overall?
I think sort of from a nutrition perspective, I know a lot of people with Crohn's and colitis, like sometimes they'll keep the carbohydrates a little bit lower because it reduces inflammation. Whereas for me, I know that because my sleep's poor, I need carbohydrates to fuel my body. I'm sort of more in tune with what I need. Working in the fitness industry for 15 years, I know that protein is really important. I've learnt to sort of get an idea of what works well for me nutrition-wise and what doesn't work well, alongside supplements as well. So I love curcumin. I feel like that really helps reduce inflammation. It helps settle my gut. I am like willing to try things that taste absolutely disgusting as long as I know it works. It could be vile, like, things like ginger shots, turmeric shots, all that kind of stuff. If it works, it's really like, when you're so unwell, you try anything to help, don't you? Yeah, exactly. So
what supplements do you take then? So you mentioned some then. So what like for someone else that's got it now, and like what kind of things do you take?
So like a cod liver oil is very good. It's anti-inflammatory. any kind of like turmeric supplement, so curcumin or something with that ingredient in. I take a good multivitamin each morning, a cod liver oil, vitamin D, which is really important as well. Magnesium pre-bedtime is great because it relaxes the nervous system, and I feel like that helps me feel more chilled before bed too. Other than that, protein powder, sometimes vegan protein if it sits a little bit better on the digestive system, and then just literally hammering the water is the best as well.
With the food then, what's changed? So as your diet changed over time to like tailor for this, and have you figured things out that works and doesn't work?
Yeah, like I know that like I can't eat food that's too much processed, like too highly processed, anything with MSG in, anything that's like Chinese, Indian is a no-go, anything too spicy. I think like for me it's not worth it. I'd rather feel better digestive wise and not have those things, you know. Don't get me wrong, I know I'm a PT, but I love chocolate, I love sweet stuff, I love cake, but it's everything in moderation. It's working around it, isn't it?
It's like the way I try and explain it, it's probably the same for you. It's like I don't drink, and I assume with the condition, does it let you drink? Can you drink or? It
does, and it basically you can have like minimal amounts, but I choose not to.
Yeah.
I don't really miss it, to be honest. It's just personal preference, yeah.
Yeah, like you say, it's not worth it kind of thing, and almost when you have a condition like that, going for like a meal out, you've got to consider what you're going out for.
Yes.
And is it worth it, for one? And it's like getting a hangover. It's like having a hangover, so you know for a fact that when you go out to have something to eat, if it's off plan that you know isn't going to work for you, like you've just got to accept that the next day.
Yeah.
You're not going to be a good way. And that's like the equivalent of someone that obviously goes out and has loads of drinks and knows that the next day they're going to have a hangover. So yeah, it's almost sometimes, like you say, it's like you just weigh all that up.
Well, you've got to like own and accept the consequences of it, really, haven't you? So if you've got that in tune with your body and you know something doesn't feel quite right, and you're having it anyway, then I think, well, yeah, I'd rather feel good the next day, basically. Yeah. Diet's not perfect, but I think the longer you have this kind of condition, I'm sure you're the same, like you find out what works best for you. Like I know you've been talking recently about intermittent fasting, and that's really helping for you. And people with the same condition as you, I'm sure their symptoms might present differently, might be more severe, less severe, but you figure things out for you, what works right, and you go with it, and you have like test and trial runs and things. And
yeah, definitely, like certain foods that work for you. It's like anyone really, it's just a trial and error kind of thing. But I think the consequences of having something that's kind of like a autoimmune issue which causes things like inflammation is you feel when it's not right, like you can feel physical pain from it, and it's not kind of in your mind, it's an actual thing. Like if I know, for example, dairy doesn't work too well for me. It just doesn't work well, and I know that because if I cut it out and I'll improve on my symptoms, if I have it I'll feel the pain of it. So yeah, you just know what foods are going to work for you and what foods aren't. And I think over time, like I've not had this for as long as you, like I'm 3 years in. And I've kind of gone down the non-medication route as we spoke. I've obviously was on medication for a long time, which I've spoke about, but I've tried to go away from the medication side. So the food for me is like the biggest combat to it and the biggest thing. So do you think it's possible for you to go away from to move away from medication if you was to like think about it, and from like a diet point of view and stuff, is it actually possible to do?
That's really interesting, actually. I was talking to one of the nurses at the hospital recently, and we were thinking about coming off the injections. We didn't talk about the other medication I'm on, but the injections in terms of the chronic fatigue. And I was talking about the fact that the fatigue is so extreme that it affects my mental health. And she said, well, at the moment your levels are really good, so you potentially could try coming off it. But there's always that element of what if it feels worse? What if it gets worse? Like I know how bad it is, and I feel grateful to have this. So it's almost like, I mean, like grateful to have the medication. So it's like the what if,
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
You've kind of almost got to accept when you come off it as well that you're going to go through a period where that you can flare up.
Yes, that's exactly it. Yeah, and that risk. And I think that I don't want to get to that stage where I'm in work and for it to affect work, and it makes work feel a lot harder. So it's, Yeah, it's a little bit...
It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one, and it's hard to advise somebody doing it, because I can kind of just say, oh, like, I really advise doing it because, you know, this, whatever. Yeah. But like, it's your thing, isn't it? And it's your journey, and you know your body, and you know what the consequences of it are. And I think at the time I accepted the fact that I just kind of went cold turkey on it, really, from an experience I had in the doctors in the hospital, and I was like, no, I'm done with the medication. Yeah. And I just accepted that I was going to be in pain for quite a while. But again, for everyone, you can't just advise that to someone. Like, because everyone's different, and it's not to say my bad time lasted for a few weeks. Yours could last for, who knows, do you know what I mean? It's hard to advise someone.
Yeah, everyone is different, isn't it? And there's an element of me that like really wants to come off medication, and I want to try to be just focusing on nutrition, and I would love it to be like medication free and like in remission. But there's that element, and I think if I worry about it, will it get worse? I don't know. So
it's the cycle, isn't it, of like stress, and then that causes things. Definitely. What's your goals now then? So you've obviously like you're managing it now well, and you seem to be in a much better place than what you was obviously 10 years ago, for example, when you were struggling. So does it now give you like new goals that you can now start like focusing on and regaining some things in your life that you kind of feel like you wanted to go back to?
I think, as you know, like in some respects, it's like focusing on my training, focusing on work. I do pole fitness outside of the gym as well, so it's given me focus to be able to work on new goals in that respect as well. It gives me like opens avenues and gives me a new lease of life, so that I can go hiking if I want to with my partner. We can go to Yorkshire and not have to worry about that, and we go for 5 hours and get lost in the countryside, and I switch my phone off, and it's the best thing ever for mental health. And it opens avenues up in that respect. And work-wise, I can throw myself into it and just, I don't know, kind of like... Just
without worry.
Yeah, not have to worry like, will I make it to work in time without having to stop off? And
Yeah. No, I get it. What would you say to other people then? So people that wear in your shoes, what advice would you give them?
Just to keep going. If you are in pain or you are struggling, make sure you have a good support network. Don't be afraid to speak up about it. It is a struggle. Not to feel ashamed. Like, it can be one of those conditions where you feel humiliated, not by anyone else. Just you feel like... I got to a point in my life where I felt disgusting because it was happening so often, and having to, rely on public toilets and feeling really embarrassed, like anybody with this condition. Openly and honestly, you get to a point where you just think, oh, I feel awful. I feel like you can't, you don't have dignity, but it's something that happens in life, and to those people, and it's a card you're dealt with, but you get to choose how you deal with it. You get to choose to be optimistic, positive, do things so to add fuel to your fire. I think that I could have quite easily decided that I'm not well enough to work, I'm not well enough to do this, but I flipped it on its head. I decided that I would be the person that grabs the reins, grabs the bull by the horns, and not allow this to become all consuming for me.
Yeah.
I needed to get to grips with it, and then decide that I was more than my condition.
Yeah, definitely.
Much more than my condition. It's part of me. It always will be, but I'm still me.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, people are going to listen to this and see it, and when I spoke to you about I mentioned this idea to you and stuff, and I kind of said, would you be interested in coming on and sharing? Because I know you've got a story about this, and you jumped right at it. And you was like, yeah, definitely. I feel like you kind of said that you was going to come on before I'd actually finished speaking about it, kind of thing. So I knew you was keen to get on, and you wanted to be that first one, and I wanted you to be honest. Why was it important for you to come on? Like, why do you want to share it?
I just feel so passionate about, if you are diagnosed with a medical condition, that you should never feel ashamed to speak up. I was told in the past that I worked with a group of people, and I was told that they thought I felt sorry for myself. And I wanted it all to be known, like everyone to realise that no one should be ever be made to feel like that. Like, it's a vulnerable position to be in, but people with medical conditions or any kind of health condition, whether it be invisible or not, are brave, so brave, and it's hard. And people that pass judgment shouldn't do so unless they've walked a mile in their shoes. And I know it sounds so cheesy, but people go through so much, and like there's so much more openness out there now to talk about health conditions, whether it's mental health, invisible conditions, no matter what it is. And people should feel like there's a safe space to do that, no judgment, and there should be a compassionate support network around you. You should never be made to feel like you're feeling sorry for yourself, because anyone with a condition, 90% of the time, they do more than what they think is possible, because they're so strong and so determined not to let it affect anything or anyone else around them. Yeah. And that I feel I'm such a passionate advocate of having this condition and using it as positive fuel to influence other people to know that it's not a hurdle or a stumbling block. It's something to make you want to push yourself even harder, to cope and deal with life, and to know that life doesn't have to end if you have a condition. You can always work through it. You can always keep going and find a support network and talk to people out there that will understand, that will get it, because it is hard, and there should be no shame in talking about it whatsoever.
Yeah. Do you feel more comfortable? Like, do you feel like you would have been able to do this, like, 10 years ago? Probably, kind of thing?
No, sorry to interrupt, but no, absolutely not. Like, and through meeting like people like yourself and people I've been around for a while now, I know that it's a safe space to talk about things, and it's okay. It's fine. It's like almost like a bit of like breath of fresh air, weight off your shoulders, that there is people out there that get it and understand, and it's surrounding yourself with the right kind of people that will push you and make you feel at your best.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things then that obviously, like we said, when it's yourself, you don't always kind of see it. Do you know what I mean? You don't know how much you'll inspire other people. Like, other people will be getting motivation from you, and you might just feel like you're doing your everyday, and even on your worst days, like your worst days might be what other people with your condition are striving to get to. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I think one of the things I wanted to do actually was, I didn't just want to like kind of make up a quote of anything around this disease. So I did actually speak to someone. I'm going to get my phone out on this unprofessionally, but I thought it was important to kind of share with you what other people see. Do you know what I mean?
That's really nice.
So this is actually from someone that knows you quite well. So this is from Paul Felder.
Okay.
Yeah, so these are his words. I will read it because there was no way I was memorising this. But Laura Blease is an extraordinary personal trainer who has been a guiding force in my fitness journey for the past 2.5 years. Despite battling with colitis, a condition that brings extreme fatigue, severe stomach cramps, and countless other challenges, she shows up every single day with an unwavering commitment to her clients and her own training. Laura's remarkable resilience and dedication, even on the toughest days, inspires everyone around her. Watching her push through immense discomfort, maintain an impressive physique, and still provide unwavering support to her clients is a testament to her incredible work ethic and spirit. She truly embodies the essence of perseverance and strength.
That's really nice.
But it's true.
Thank you.
It really is true. And people see it, and like I say, you might not think people see it, but they really, really do.
That's really kind.
Yeah. Thank you, honestly.
My pleasure.
I'm really, really grateful for you coming on, and I know for a fact that this will help people 100%. And we've spoken about the fact as well that there is actually more to share. This only it's very hard in the amount of time to explain everything about your condition and talk about it. And there's things that are more specific, like training. There's things like nutrition, diving into that a little bit more. We've only really touched the surface on that stuff.
Yeah, I get it.
Like, you actually train, you understand how to train. So there's people that are going to be in your position that want to train. So again, like for me, it's if you're happy to, we come back on.
Oh yeah,
and we do more, and we can cover other certain things. We can cover other aspects of it that are a little bit more in detail. And as you go as well, like you've done over the last 10 years, like you've learned more about your condition, and that's going to carry on. Do you know what I mean? You're going to keep on learning more. So like, I want this to be a space to be able to come on and share things, new things that you experience all the time. And yeah, I know it'll be invaluable to people, like everything that you can offer. So I want you to know really this is a space that you can come to and share that, and hopefully people do listen to this and see it. But yeah, no, thank you, honestly, I really do appreciate your time.
Thank you, Adam. That's really, really kind, and I think what you're doing is amazing. I think it's creating a safe space for whoever who has health conditions to really get it out there, to talk about it, to become such a positive advocate. And I know you go through so much with your condition, but you're so resilient, so strong, and push so hard in work, and you do absolutely amazing. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.